We did a couple for baseball.
When was our last show?
I don't know. We're going to have to find it, and I'll insert something here again.
Well, no, it had to be that week. March 13th was the last game, right?
Had to be.
I think we did. I think we did. Yeah, we did a show. No, I don't know if we did a show. Did we do a show?
We don't know, but we need to start the show.
We haven't a clue. All right. Are you ready? Welcome to Access Sports Weekly here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson across beside whatever, Jeff Hart here to the left. And behind the board, our producer, Seth Chapman, as we welcome you in to a show that we haven't done in forever. Holy cow, Jeff.
What decade are we in?
I'm not sure.
So we had to go back and consult the archives.
Well, yeah, I
there
didn't
was
know the name of the
literally
show.
Cobwebs and dust. Poof. It's kind of like it's been a while.
We are approaching football season.
I don't know whether to be quiet because we don't want to mess it up because we are close, or are we actually here and we're ready to go?
Well, I think we're here, ready to go.
You think so?
I think so. We are definitely ready to go because introducing today is our magazine.
2020 Kickoff magazine, folks.
Yes, sir. It is filled with high school previews, features, schedules, everything much better than last year's. We've improved.
And last year's was outstanding, by the way.
Outstanding. So we have full previews of all 22 teams in this magazine this year. So you can pick one up, go to the website, and you can see locations to get them. You can come here to get the magazines as well. But, Jeff, we had a fun time once again putting this magazine together. We put it together not really knowing if we were going to have a season or not, but we got it together, and here it is.
That was part of the adventure of it because we'd go up to a coach. All right, Coach, we're here to talk the season. They're like, well, we've done nothing.
No spring.
That's right.
No workouts.
We're like, exactly, Coach. So in your perfect world, answer the question. But we came up with some good stuff. I think a lot of, some interesting things while we're doing this. We found out a lot of how much behind the scenes prep all of these coaches go into, because without the spring and without summer and the 7-on-7 and all the things that they do during the summer, and yet they had plans of this and that. So, first I think just a lot of kudos to all of the coaches, not just in our area and outstanding coaches in there, but probably all over the state, because, this is like nothing we've ever seen or had to encounter for any season, whether it's football, basketball, or whatever. And yet coaches, they weren't completely blindsided. They had some things in place. We had plenty to talk about, players to talk about, games to talk about. And so I think that, that they need a lot of credit for kind of making sure that if this was going to go forward, that this did go forward.
Well, if we take them back to the timeline, March 13th was the last game that we covered in any sport. It was high school baseball.
North Hall.
And
baseball.
The season was canceled. And then we go on into spring, and football coaches are thinking, are we going to have a spring? Spring was canceled. And then you get through the spring, get through the May. School is online for everyone. And the GHSA comes out, and they tell all the schools you can go back to restrictive workouts June 8th. And all the players, the coaches, they had, tough restrictions, group workouts and everything. But those restrictions started to loosen a little bit, bigger groups, they could do more. And then finally we get into it where you are actually putting shoulder pads, helmets, and pants, football pants on and getting on the field to actually practice. So we have gotten this far, Jeff. I mean, there's been several days. Every week we look for the meeting with Dr. Robin Hines of the GHSA and the medical advisory committee that he has and think something's coming out. But we're still on track.
Still on track. I look, I think Dr. Hines deserves a lot of credit, too, for being unwavering in his belief that we were going to play football in its entirety or as close to it as we could get. He deserves a lot of credit for this being able to, I don't want to jinx it. I mean, we still haven't played a game, but it seems, I think last week's hurdle was huge in getting to next week.
Huge.
and getting to next week and being able to play. And Dr. Hines deserves a lot of credit. The trustees, the board of trustees, also they've had a couple of shaky moments, but when you get a lot of people together, you're going to have some. So I actually a lot of credit to a lot of people just to get here with all that has been going on.
Well, it's been up and down, up and down, up and down. And any football coach you talk, any coach you talk to, not just football, because every sport dealt with, baseball, the spring sports cancellation, but then in the summer workouts, every sport dealt with kind of the up and down of what you could do. So, but it just so happened that football and softball and volleyball and cross country, the fall sports, softball and volleyball, they've all kicked off, been going well. You look at cross country, their meets are going well too. So, there are a lot of positives that's happened. And the one thing that we really wanted to talk to you today about is this magazine that we have out on newsstands now. There's a lot of places you can get it. But, Jeff, when we sat down and looked at this magazine, and what we wanted to focus on, kind of the cover story, was looking at new regions, new alignments. And that was a huge undertaking because now we are covering every classification.
Every classification, which is fantastic. So now we get to go to the big boy football, as Heath Webb said.
That's right.
He's like, they wanted to play big boy football. And one of the things, they moved up into Region 6-7A, largest classification in Georgia. And, we were a lot of people were like, well, how is that going to work for Gainesville? Well, they were ready. They wanted this. I mean, it's not often you feel like, I want 7A.
Yeah.
But it's not that but he's like, Georgia, 7A, one of the best high school divisions in the country. I don't think there's any question about that. You succeed and do well in 7A in Georgia, you're putting yourself not just on the state map, but you're putting yourself on the national map. And I think that is what is exciting the Gainesville Red Elephants this year.
No doubt.
They are ready to say, they're the third winningest program in the history of the state of Georgia. A lot of people don't realize Gainesville, that is quite a tribute to the history of the program. They're the third. Only Valdosta and LaGrange has more high school football wins than Gainesville High School. And now they get to play in the largest classification and show what they can do.
Over in the FOCO, the Forsyth County region, that is where they will play. They actually just announced they will be opening at Stockbridge on September 4th. So that'll be an interesting game for the Red Elephants. Also, another in this whole region alignment thing that we talked about a few times on our podcast is 8-6A. This one's an interesting region from the standpoint defending 5A state champ. Buford moves in to that region with Decula, Lanier, Hab, Shiloh, Winder Barrow, and Central Gwinnett.
Listen, there was an earthquake in northeast Georgia like about a week ago, and I'm wondering if that was the small rumblings of what 8-6A is going to be. It's the earthquake has already started to shake for that region. You got defending state champion Buford. You got two semifinalists in Decula and Lanier from the last couple of years. You've got two 7A programs in Central Gwinnett and Shiloh moving down. You got Habersham, who was inches from another playoff, and they've got two of the best players in the state on their team. I'm telling you what, that might be the best region in northeast Georgia, and it might be the best region in the state, all classifications when it's all said and done.
Definitely a region to watch.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
100%. I have a feeling I'll be at many, many of those games.
Perhaps you will be.
If you're lucky.
I'm lucky.
Meanwhile, I'm going to be shipped off, I'm sure.
Well, you said earlier you wanted all the Johnson games, so.
I do. I'm really interested to see what they have. Speaking of 8-5A.
Does it have anything to do with barbecue?
Is there some football being played?
So Region 8-5A, as we shift and segue into that. This one's kind of an interesting region from the standpoint, Jackson County, who they were, 3A, correct? And
they were 3A.
And they wanted to bump up 2 classifications to 5A. So they bumped up into that classification of 8-5A and joining, holdovers of Clark Central and Johnson, Loganville, Walnut Grove in that region, Greenbrier and Appalachia moving into the region as well as the east side. So that's kind of an interesting region from the standpoint of the teams that we really don't know that much about.
Buford moved out. They threw Buford a party.
Yeah.
Thank you. And don't let the door hit you on the way out, kind of thing. But, Clark Central won that region last year, but they've lost a lot of their offense from last year. All of the other teams, there are no traditional football programs other than Clark Central in this entire region. And this is a region that could be up for grabs. I mean, I think Clark Central probably will still win their, and you can take your pick on the other four.
Oh, yeah.
It's that might
open.
be one of the most interesting regions to watch because, mediocrity, maybe not just balance. They're all about the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so any given week, I think any team, Johnson is in play. I think Jackson County is in play. Every one of these teams is in play. That's going to be a really fun region just to see what happens every week.
All of these region alignments are in the brand new Kickoff 2020. You can check it out and read the cover story in that. Two more regions that we'll hit just very quickly here. 8-4A, which is an interesting region from the standpoint of Flowery Branch, Jefferson are in there. North Oconee's in that region. Chastity East Hall's in that region. Cedar Shoals dropping down.
Madison County was a quarterfinalist last year.
That region, you talk about wide open.
It is. I mean, I know that I said that 8-6A may be the best region. This is 8-6A light for 4A classification. That's going to be. There's going to be some real. You got Chessie and East Hall with their offense. If they can find defense in that region, I mean, they could put a scare into some people. And then Branch, coming out of 7-4A, you got to figure anywhere they go, they're like, okay. Yeah, we're a region title contender now, and this Jefferson is loaded.
Loaded, deep.
Maybe only Buford has as much talent across the board in any team in our region, but I'm going to tell you, I think Flowery Branch is just under that. It's going to be a great region.
7-3A also another region that screams competitive with most of the rest of the Hall County schools in it. Bluff and North Hall, West Hall in that region. White County dropping down, West Hall dropping down, Gilmer dropping down. And so they join Dawson and North Hall, Lumpkin and Bluff as the holdovers from that region. This one's, like I said, probably one of the more competitive from top to bottom.
I think there's 6 teams that are legitimate playoff contenders in this region. Only 4 are going.
Well, true.
So, yeah, it's going to be – I mean, Bluff is only a 3-year program, but everywhere we went this summer, there was like, man – tell me about Bluff. Everybody was talking about Bluff. I mean, they already had Jaquan Smith, probably the best running back in the region, an improved line, an improved defense. And, of course, then Riverside bows out for this year, and they end up with Shaw Dabney transferring in. He's already touted as one of the better players in the state. You add that to the mix, I'm going to tell you what, that's the team to look for. I think White County, we agreed White County initially might be the team to beat. They got J. Ben Haynes, best quarterback, and a plethora of receivers, and a boatload of experience.
White County looking for that first ever region title, and so they've got a really good shot at that this year.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, I think it's going to be rocking in Cleveland all year.
I
think those people are really they realize the potential this particular team has, and not. Look, they were the best 5-5 team in the state last year, but they played in the toughest region in the Southeast. So, I mean, Lord, you had Blessed Trinity, Marist, you had Flowery Branch, you had Denmark.
Yeah.
I mean, they were 5-5, but they'd been in any other region, they'd probably go 8-2, probably a quarterfinal team in 7-3A. So they're bringing that whole team into 7-3A. That's why I kind of see them as like, I think it's theirs to lose. That's how I see this. Now, nothing against Dawson County or North Hall, 2 perennial playoff teams, or Bluff that's on the rise. But I just think they've got the experience. They got the quarterback. That's why I'm going. But that's going to be a great region. Every game is going to be good in every
region. All right. So in the magazine, one of the other things that we're really proud of this year is that we expanded our coverage to include full previews of the outer county schools, as we call them, but they are still in our area. And we do cover them.
Outer county, we have to define that.
Well, outside of Hall County. Schools. So we expanded our coverage to that. So we went from 100 pages to 116 pages to include full previews of outside Hall County schools. So that's one of the things we are proud of in this magazine this year is it is a complete preview magazine. We've also added some other feature stories. We felt like we needed to talk about COVID-19 in this magazine just because
much as we didn't want to.
We didn't want to talk about it, but we wanted to talk about it from the standpoint if we left it out of such an unprecedented time, and as far as the season goes, one of the unprecedented season. So we felt like we needed to talk about the COVID-19.
It was interesting to get the different takes the coaches had on that as well. I think it meant a little something different for everybody. And, but they all told you, but what you didn't get everybody could have played the victim status.
Oh, of course.
But everybody was under the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of interesting things. I think Brian Appling's the one that said it from Beaufort. He said, I think the teams that you will see that have the most success are the ones that handled their way through all of the craziness that went along with backing up, having to stop. You might have been quarantined. You might not have been quarantined. You have people transferring, leaving, opting out. You know, the teams that manage that the best will probably be the teams that rise to the top. So it'll be really interesting to see because you really, you know, if you have a team that maybe doesn't have as much talent, but you handled everything properly, you might be able to you might be able to jump on some of those teams that were disorganized.
Right. And another story in this magazine, Power 5, we looked at all the talent that was across the area, talked to Jake Roos of Rivals.com and got some comments from him. And this area loaded with Power 5 talent.
Loaded. The all-access team.
Tough.
I'll take that one. You give me any team in the state. You give me our Access All-11.
Oh, yeah.
And the honorable mention.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take that team against any team in the state.
That was a fun group of kids, too.
Yeah, speaking of the all-access team, that is in this magazine. You can check it out as, you know, we talked to coaches. We talked to a lot of other folks to try to make the team up, and that's what we came up with, and it's a really, really good team.
I think one of the great things about it, if I'm right, correct me on this without looking through it real fast, there was only one player on this year's All-Access 11 that was on the team in any capacity, honorable mention, or last year's team, and I believe that was Gunnar Stockton.
Yes.
Which means that's how much talent we had backing up last year's group. That whole group graduated. Most of it graduated. There's only one guy, maybe Shai Dabney. I think he was an honorable mention. I think so. That's
Jason
two.
Ellingham
And
also. Jason Ellingham.
Okay,
Yep.
so a little few more. But when you look at the totality of the 22, it's a small handful, which means there was a lot of talent underneath ready to come up.
And this is just in our area.
That's right.
And I mean, what the talent is in this area. So make sure you pick this magazine up today. Also in it, we have updated schedules on the front here, but I'm going to tell you how difficult it was with these schedules.
There probably is a change made while we're on air.
Yeah, we've made a ton of changes to the schedule, and before we could hit it before it pressed, we couldn't make any more changes. But for the most part, the schedules are updated in this magazine. And then
what we do know is pretty much anything after October is pretty set. There were no real changes.
All region schedules remain.
All of that will be correct. There's only maybe 2 or 3 September games that are in our schedule on here that aren't actually happening. 2 of them are Gainesville, and I think
2 of them are Gainesville.
I think one Beaufort.
One Beaufort.
One
That
Beaufort,
would
I
be
think.
correct. Also in the magazine, you can check the best rival games out in this as well, and top 10 matchups plus 5 more, because we felt like we needed to add 5 more.
Oh.
And, you know, Jeff, that's one of the things last year. You and I, it seemed like every week we were thinking, just give us some good games. We look at the schedule this week or this year, and we're going to have some great matchups.
I asked you to do this with me because we sat down and a projected entire year broadcast schedule on the Jacobs Media stations. We have 3 stations, 3 games a week. If there's another station in the country that does that, I'd like to know who it is.
Right.
Because that's where I'm going if I ever leave here. But it's we out of like 36 potential games, I think we had like a handful of games that we predicted maybe blowouts. The rest of them, I mean, almost all of them possibly could go down to the last series of every play. So if you're going to tune in on radio or on our streaming services, you're going to be in for some fantastic football this year. This might be the best broadcast schedule I think I've ever seen in my 20 years here.
All right, folks. Well, the magazine is out. You can get it. You can go to the website now and check out where you can get the magazine. It's in Clipper stores. I do know that off the top of my head. You can get it from there and plenty of other places as well. Also, if you click the button somewhere around on our website, you can check out our Friday game night coverage as well. It is live, so go check it out.
Click on his face.
Yeah, click on my face. Sure. It's live there with all the previews on the web and some other feature stories and video interviews and whatever else is on there. So you can click on that, and we have got you covered starting today. High school football, and coming up next week we'll have much more features and stuff as we lead up, Jeff, to the September 4th kickoff of high school football.
Are you saying we actually can get on a set schedule yet
I hope so.
finally?
Structure. We need structure.
I need
bad, don't
That's
we?
boy,
an exciting.
you know I
September
need some
4th.
structure.
Isn't that someone's birthday?
Heavy me.
That's Bo's
Yeah,
birthday.
it's the birthday present to me. Thank
Happy
you, Dr.
birthday
Hines.
to Bo and
Yeah.
I, as
Yeah.
mine is
By
the
the way,
following
There
day.
you go.
Did you see the way that he modeled that magazine?
did.
You have
It was-
there's a
it
third
was-
job.
I got
for
it
you,
right
Seth.
in
There's
there
a
just
third
before
job
my
for you.
camera died.
Camera died.
It did.
Before
Mine
that
did.
camera dies, let's get out of here. Check us out on Twitter. It's at Friday Game Night. Also on our sports Twitter at WDUN Sports. Jeff is at HartJJ22. I'm at the Bo Wilson. Seth is at nothing because he's not on Twitter, but he is on Instagram.
I'll put links and
It's
stuff
It's
somewhere.
scrolling right here.
Somewhere.
It's scrolling somewhere on the
Also, if you're
screen.
watching this video right now, you probably already subscribed to us on YouTube. But if
Yeah.
you do not, please hit that subscribe button, give it a like, and tell your friends.
That's right. Also, on Instagram and Facebook, keyword search AccessWDUN Sports. We got you covered on most of the key socials. For Seth Chapman, our producer, Jeff Hart, I'm Bo. Happy football season, everyone.